A U.S. diplomat disguised in a blonde wig was caught red-handed as he tried to recruit a Russian agent in Moscow, Russia's security services announced Tuesday, claiming the American was a CIA officer. Ryan Fogel, a third secretary at the U.S. Embassy in Moscow, was carrying special technical equipment, disguises, written instructions and a large sum of money when he was detained late Monday, Russia's Federal Security Service said. The FSB, which is the successor to the Soviet-era KGB, said Fogel was trying to recruit a Russian counterterrorism officer who specializes in the Caucasus, a region in southern Russia that includes Chechnya and Dagestan. The suspects in the Boston Marathon bombings are ethnic Chechen brothers, and the elder brother spent 6 months last year in Dagestan, now the center of an Islamic insurgency. U.S. investigators have been working with the Russians to try to determine whether Timberland's armies had established any contacts with the militants operating in Dagestan. Fogel, who was handed back to U.S. Embassy officials, was declared persona non grata and ordered to leave Russia immediately, the foreign ministry said. He has diplomatic immunity, which protects him from arrest. It was the first case of an American diplomat publicly accused of spying in about a decade and seems certain to aggravate already strained relations between Russia and the U.S. The foreign ministry summoned Ambassador Michael McFaul to appear Wednesday in connection with the case. McFaul, who was doing a question-and-answer session on Twitter when the detention was first announced, said he would not comment on the spying allegation. Noting recent efforts by the two countries to improve cooperation in countering international terrorism in the wake of the Boston bombings, the foreign ministry said such provocative actions in the spirit of the Cold War do nothing to strengthen mutual trust. Despite the end of the Cold War, Russia and the United States still maintain active espionage operations against each other. Last year, several Russians were convicted in separate cases of spying for the U.S. and sentenced to lengthy prison sentences. Russian state television showed pictures of a man said to be Fogel, wearing a baseball cap and what appeared to be a blonde wig, lying face down in the ground. The man, now without the wig, was also shown sitting at a desk in the offices of the FSB. 2 wigs, a compass, a map of Moscow, a pocket knife, 3 pair of sunglasses and packages of €500 notes were among the items displayed in a table. Russian state television also displayed a typewritten letter it described as instructions to the Russian agent who was the target of the alleged recruitment effort. The letter, written in Russian and addressed to your friend, offers $100,000 to discuss your experience, expertise and cooperation, and up to $1 million a year for long-term cooperation. The letter also includes instructions for opening a mail account to be used for communication and an address to write. It is signed Your Friends. In Washington, the White House referred questions about the detained diplomat to the State Department. There was no immediate response from the State Department. The CIA declined to comment on the case. Little was immediately known about Fogel. A third secretary is an entry-level position in the State Department, the lowest diplomatic rank in the Foreign Service. President Vladimir Putin has stoked anti-American sentiments among Russians in recent years in what is seen as an effort to bolster his support at home. He also appears to have a genuine distrust of Russian non-governmental organizations with American funding, which he has accused of being fronts that allow the U.S. government to meddle in Russia's political affairs. Hundreds of gusts have been searched this year, as part of an ongoing crackdown. Mark Galeotti, a professor at New York University who studies the Russian security services, said the public exposure of Fogel and the pictures splashed across Russian television suggest a political purpose behind the detention. He said these kinds of spying incidents happen with some frequency, but making such a big deal of it is rare. More often, the etiquette is that these things get dealt with quite quietly, unless they want to get a message out, Galeotti said. If you identify an embassy staffer who is a spy for the other side,